Hi. So we just discussed about the importance of self-discipline, and we said that self-discipline comes about through telling yourself what to do. And it's more of an art than a science, because the more you tell yourself and the more your body learns that you're the guy in charge of yourself, then the more easier it gets to do anything you want. And once you have that self-discipline, there's a very famous study, I don't want to go into great length because it's very well known, but about children that were given the self-discipline test. They were offered 2 marshmallows in 10 minutes or 1 marshmallow now. So obviously it's a good idea to take 2 in 10 minutes. But most children opted for 1 now. They lacked the self-discipline. But the few children that were able to do that, then they looked at all these children throughout their school career, and it turns out that self-discipline is better on all things. It's more important than IQ. It was better for tests, for relations, everything. Because in every single thing that you're going to engage in life, only self-discipline will give you the discipline to do it and not to say, okay, I'm not in the mood or I want to do something else. However, this is a very important subject now, and this is about self-discipline in the mind. Many of us are not aware that we are not thinking. Most of our thoughts are emotions. For example, remember we gave the idea that emotions are based on love and fear. So if this is love, now there are many different kinds of loves. There's instinctual loves, there's familial loves, there's relationship loves. Let's take a simple love. Let's take it the love of chocolate. So if I have a love for chocolate, which most of us have because chocolate makes us feel good, so what am I going to think about when I see a chocolate? I want the chocolate. If I'm addicted to a substance, what am I going to think about? As addicts have told me, they wake up in the morning, how do I get that substance? If I have fear, okay, let's say many people have fear of shame, what am I going to think about? Not saying anything that will get me shame. So you see that our thoughts are really playing out the movie of our emotions. And that's a terrible way to live because you have no say in your own mind. You're not thinking. The only way to gain self-discipline of your mind, and that you should be the one talking in your head, not your emotions talking or your fears, and people can manipulate you, etc., is only, and I mean only, through the following mechanism. And it's the same way that you self-discipline the body. You have to tell the body, this is what you're going to do. And then the body begins to listen. And the same thing is you have to tell your mind. You have to say, I'm not going to think that thought, which is a negative thought. And the thing with the mind is it's a little bit different to the body because the body's natural state is like a log. It doesn't do anything. But the mind's natural state, as it's given the example in Jewish mysticism, is like a flowing river. It's always moving. So the only way you can change the flow of the river from dark, nasty, fearful thoughts to clear, white, positive thoughts is if you change what you're actually thinking about. And there's no words in the world to describe how important this is. One of the great sages, Rabbeinu Bechaya, he says that the mind is like the pillbox. You know, if you're attacking, imagine D-Day in Normandy, so the Germans were shooting from on top. Well, whoever's got control of that pillbox has got control of the terrain. And the same thing is if you don't have control of the thoughts in your head, well, you're totally out of control. You're just based on emotions. If, on the other hand, you have control of your thoughts, you are the one producing what it is you're thinking about, well, then you have complete control of your life because that is the pillbox, and the thoughts can actually change the emotions. But the most important thing, and this is a bit simplistic, but it's the most important idea is this. Your thoughts have basically one of 2 directions. The first direction is positive thoughts, constructive thoughts. The other direction is negative thoughts, destructive thoughts. And therefore you always have to start, first of all you have to start being aware of this movie that's going on in your head. If you're not watching the screen, you can't change the channel. So number one, you have to watch the screen. Because you are not your thoughts. You are an independent soul that has these thoughts that are really coming from emotional desires. So now your soul is watching the thoughts. But now you are in the position to decide, you know what, that thought is a bad thought. It's about hate. Now, how do you get over a bad thought? You go into a thought of love. Or, quite simply, just change the channel. If you're watching and you say, you know that movie is a bad movie, it gives me bad energy. So what do? Well, you don't start discussing the movie, you change the channel, go on to a good movie. And that's why it's so important in life to have positive movies that you can play. In fact, a Jew is told, whenever you have free time, study Torah. Torah, the wisdom of God from the Bible, is all positive. So you put yourself in a positive space. And I had a relationship with someone, and she would often, unfortunately, get into negative spaces. And I could see the thing that changed her out of that negative space was she would just go read a book. And in that hour of reading, and it wasn't a Jewish book, it was just a novel. But the fact that she went to read this novel, she changed her mind space. And her mind space went out of feelings of anger and victimization, etc., and it went into just a positive space. And so the same thing, and I urge you with every fiber of my soul to really do this. You know, one of the most life-changing experiences that I had, my father, who's quite wise, he's translated over 30 Jewish mysticism books, he once told me, you have to know yourself. And that really changed me because I began to think about myself, and I thought about what am I thinking, and I started to go through a process, and it took me a few years to become aware of my thoughts, and then to actually start to control my thoughts. But once I went through this process, now I am the one who thinks, and is not an emotional reaction. And this really is what maturity is all about. The immature person, which many drug addicts unfortunately are on that level, a child is usually on that level, is not thinking. Their mind is only reacting to their feelings. I want this, I don't want that. But the mature person is the one who controls their thoughts. And there's no reason why, if you don't start watching your thoughts and then start choosing whenever you have a negative thought to have a positive thought, again, you have to have something to shift to, whether it's reading a book, listening to music, but the point is, don't allow a bad tenant into your most important real estate, which is your mind. Thank you.